Please excuse the rain. There's been like a storm recently in the UK, so we've been getting a lot of bad weather. I mean, there's always bad weather because it's England, but it's been worse than usual. So back in the end of December, I filmed a video called Politics in Fiction, and I watched it with a couple of my friends. It was unlisted. I didn't actually upload it because I watched it back. It was really long. It was like, I think, just under 20 minutes, and I decided to take what I said and actually embed it into another video which I made talking about my book Around Midnight, and about things like class and political issues and how I embed this into my fiction. So I might still upload the politics and fiction video. I don't know if I will, but that Around Midnight video, as I said in one of my earlier videos, that's going to be pushed back to the summer, because I'm taking a step back from my edited videos and just doing these kind of quick uploads. Again, I'm really aware as I'm talking that the rain is getting louder, so please excuse that. So I just wanted to do a quick little chat about separating art from the artist, as this is a very interesting topic, and it is something which I'm sure a lot of authors think about and discuss. Oh good, it's gone quiet now. So a while back, not gonna say when or who or whatever, I was on a live stream with some other authors, and I was talking about a movie that I had watched recently, and somebody mentioned how an actor from that movie had just done some pretty nasty things. And I remember walking away feeling like, why does that matter? And obviously people react to things differently, and everybody is allowed to react to things differently, but I have always found it rather strange why some people put so much emphasis on who an artist is as opposed to what they do. And a good example, a kind of funny example, is Hitler. So we all know Adolf Hitler was one of the most barbaric and just messed up people to live, but if you click on any image, like if you search right now Adolf Hitler paintings, he did some pretty nice paintings. And are we really going to sit here and say that just because this person was a barbaric, like, megalomaniac, does that somehow mean that we can't appreciate their artwork? I think a lot of this ties in with the kind of contemporary outrage culture, with people becoming more offended about things. And as an artist, as somebody who appreciates film, books, music, I find it honestly so baffling. And another really good example, which is a very contemporary example, of course, is J.K. Rowling. And we all know that Rowling? Why did I say J.K. Rowling? J.K. Rowling. We all know, is it actually, I'm sure it's Rowling. We all know that J.K. Rowling has been the source of controversy the past 2 years, and I have not once understood it. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think people are just, but it's also like, you have to take a step back and think, why are people so angry? Why are people so bothered? How has what she said or done affected her books in any way? And that's the thing which I don't understand. And it's this whole thing of people becoming so quick to react to who somebody is and placing more emphasis on who an artist is as a person as opposed to their work. And it's definitely become a big problem, especially nowadays when we have social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok and whatever. Like, an artist can be much closer to their, or Twitter, like an artist can be much closer to their audience. And like, even me, I know I obviously don't have a huge presence, but how much of who I am is going to influence how I'm seen as an author? Do you get what I'm saying? And I just find it rather strange. I mean, so what if somebody was an anti-Semite or a racist or a sexist or a rapist or any of this other stuff? Like, I don't think it really matters that much. I think that what should matter is, what has the person made? There are people out there who don't want to listen to R. Kelly, and they have every right to. Like, nobody obviously has to listen to or consume any work of art that they don't want to. But I think to myself, I mean, if an R. Kelly song comes on, I'm gonna sing along. Like, I just, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't know. Like, and I do feel like I'm in the minority in this, especially with the way modern society has kind of gone with this social outrage and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, like if somebody didn't like me or they didn't like my views on something, but they still wanted to read my books, that should be cool. I don't like or agree. I'm sure I don't like, there's one of my favorite authors is an author named Louise O'Neill, and she's a feminist, and I disagree with a lot of her opinions, but I like her books, and I just think, why is that not the mainstream thing? Why has the mainstream thing seemed to, why is it becoming, oh, I don't like what so and so said, therefore I'm not going to support them, therefore they are cancelled? It's ridiculous, and it's very narrow-minded, and you know, we forget that at the end of the day, every single person has a unique way of looking at the world, and there are so many words and phrases nowadays, you know, left, right, anti-vax, libertarian, feminist, nihilist, absurdist, Catholic, Hindu, fascist. Like, if you give 10 people like these terms, they will all have different ways of interpreting them. And at the end of the day, like, the more I go through life, the older I get, I'm not particularly old, obviously, but I really realize how everybody just has their own way of looking at the world, and these things just aren't really that significant. Even COVID, I mean, I've met people who are not vaccinated and people who are vaccinated, and I really don't think, like, I am personally vaccinated. I have the 2 jabs. I'm not planning on getting any more unless it's absolutely necessary. But I don't hold it against anybody who isn't vaccinated, because people should be able to make their own choices. And I don't understand disproportionate outrage against things which don't really need to constitute that much outrage. And I had this idea for a story, which I've actually been jotting down things in here, called The Catastrophe. And don't get too excited. If I release this, it won't be like for at least another 2 years. But in The Catastrophe, you have this main character, and she is kind of, I guess, also subtly inspired by Ulysses. So she is set in the course of one day, and I want to have it where every chapter is written in a different form. And so she's going through London, she's walking through her day, and there's been this big catastrophe, and it's not revealed what the catastrophe is, but every single person that this woman interacts with or meets with is somehow affected by the catastrophe. Some people are very, very angry. Some people are very, very sad. Some people are like really hyper and upbeat, and some people just don't care. And everyone she meets with, they're reacting to this catastrophe in a different way. And the catastrophe is, so 3 major things which I have seen over the past 3 years, which I've seen people disproportionately overreact to. One of them is the ending of Game of Thrones. I still think that the level of outrage that was geared towards that was just so unnecessary. I think it's fine to not like the way a TV show ended, but to be that angry, I think it was very unnecessary. Obviously, J.K. Rowling, this, that, the other. So it's just like, oh my god, why? Yeah, really just, again, really like disproportionate. And COVID, I do think that there's been a lot of disproportionate reactions towards COVID. And it's interesting because while I'm generally quite a hyper and chatty person, especially the older I've gotten, I'm not particularly drama, I'm not fueled by drama, as in, I like drama and stories, but I don't like to get overly bothered about things which don't have I don't get overly bothered about things which aren't affecting me. And some people might say that's fairly selfish. I can accept that. But that's, I don't see the point. Like, for example, if there's been a bombing in another country, yeah, obviously that's very sad and, you know, it's a shame. But I don't think there's, it just seems like wasted energy for me to get really, really upset and angry about it. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of terrible, sad, and upsetting things that happen in the world every day. So why am I going to waste my energy getting so upset about something which has no effect on me? Like, I mean, like, again, it sounds really cold, but you can't well, I don't think, I can't shed a tear every single time some kid dies or gets brutally like murdered. Like, yeah, I recognize on a like overall scale these are horrific things, but it's very wasted energy to just be so, I don't like, I don't know, I'm not a particularly pissed off or angry person in general. I used to be, you know what it is, I used to be more like that when I was a teenager, and when I was a child as well. I used to be very like overly frustrated about things, and the last maybe 5 years or so I've become like increasingly less like that. Part of it's from being on antidepressants, part of it's from going to Alcoholics Anonymous, part of it's from meditating, part of it's from doing therapy. I just don't see the need to get so, like, even in my videos, like, you'll see sometimes I might be very hyper and very energetic and very upbeat, but I'm rarely genuinely angry. Like, for me, genuine anger is quite rare. I might be a bit irritated or whatever, or again a bit like, oh yeah, but it's not, I'm rarely super outraged, to be honest, you know. And maybe also I just don't take things that seriously, you know. To me it's like, oh, so what if somebody made a comment saying, oh, I don't, you know, oh, I only think there's two gender. Well, I mean, I only think there's two gender. I don't believe in this like multi-gender thing that's happening now. Like, you know, I mean, I if somebody wants to call themselves some other non-binary or another gender, like, I got no problem with that. You are entitled to your own, govern your life. I'll refer to you with they pronouns, but I'm not gonna start going down some obscure trip and using other words that aren't real. Like, I mean, you know, I actually do, to be honest, I do think there's a case to be made for actually referring to everybody as they. Like, there are some languages which don't even use masculine and feminine pronouns. Like, I know in Swahili, they just say ana, which is he or she. That's basically anyone. So, but yeah, like, I don't understand why people are becoming, you know, so angry and so, there just seems to be a lot of anger in the world, a lot of anger, a lot of mistrust. People get really wound up about these things like religion, politics, COVID. I get really frustrated. So let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know, do you believe that we should separate the art from the artist? Do you think that there's too much anger in the world? Do you think that people should like not be so bothered about these things? Or are you somebody who gets really wound up and is like, oh fuck JK Rowling, I'm not going to support her? I mean, again, like, you know, like, I'm a very each to their own person. Although to be honest, I do feel sorry for a lot of people who have that mentality, because I just think if that's the way you view life, that's a very limited way of viewing life. Like, if you're going to just be, every time you don't like something that somebody has said, you're going to say, oh, I'm not going to support this person because I don't like what they said. I just think it's just so much wasted energy. Like, why you, yeah, I don't know. But again, as I was saying, each to their own.